Hey friends, this is going to be a very different kind of video than normal, but the reason I want to make a video like this is because since I started YouTube last year, seriously, I see it as a way of logging my life, in a sense. Logging the experiences that I have with games and how they may or may not impact me, to see the growth of my dancing content over time, to see how I improve. I want my YouTube to have everything, from the good and also the bad. Doesn't happen that often, and this isn't bad, but I want it to be everything. Not that this video is bad per se, again, but it's just simply a log. And today, I want to log my current mental state. I want to be able to look back on this video in however many years and say, wow, I've come really far, and use that as motivation to be even better. Not everyone is the same, but seeing progress in my own personal growth is one of the biggest motivations to me. Just knowing that I'm constantly improving as a person. This isn't something I necessarily need to make public either, but again, I also know for myself that whenever I see other people do things to this nature, it really inspires me a lot to see other people's journeys. So maybe this will help someone out there too. I don't know. If not, you don't have to watch, and that's the beauty of content creation, because this is going to be very different than what I normally do. As you probably can tell, I'm vaguely reading off of a script right now that I wrote, because I'm not a very good public speaker and in general, and I wanted to make sure that I got all my thoughts out without really missing anything. So I have an outline to keep me on track, and I very often go on tangents like this one that's not scripted right now. So it's to prevent that. And also scripts help me to not cry as much, which I'm very self-conscious about. I know I get emotional a lot. Inside whenever I play video games and outside. And most times whenever I start to really talk about myself in a deeper way, I cry. So hopefully an outline will help that a bit, so I cry less. But I wanted to be able to try to do this in one take for once, but I'll probably fail. I don't know. We'll see. That's another thing that's a work in progress. I want to be able to do these videos in the future more freeform, no script, with solid trains of thought eventually. So this video can also be a log for that. I'll see in a few years how much I improve on that front too. It's a log for many things. But enough preamble. Let's get to the meat, per se, of this log. I don't know how to say it any better, but I literally hate myself so much. I told myself I wouldn't cry because I had a script, and look at me, already tearing up. This will be tough, but I hate myself, and it's a huge problem for a lot of reasons. I've always hated myself since the very beginning, whenever I learned how to use my brain, basically, as a toddler. Like, for as long as I can remember, I've always been like this, and it's only gotten slightly better over the years. It's definitely been a little bit better, at least, because I know whenever I was a freshman in college, I used to call myself trash all the time. Like, it was pretty bad. But it's definitely not that degree anymore, but still there a lot. Lately, in the past few months, I've done so much reflecting and focusing on why I am the way I am, and why I act the way I act. I've noticed a lot of things with the way I grew up that would cause me to be like this, to get to like the root of the problem, per se. I'm not going to talk about that because it's too personal, and definitely for my future therapist, but what I want to do is that I want to focus on what I can do about it and what I will do about it in the now. Hating myself causes a lot of problems that I don't even know where to begin to describe, but I have to, so I can properly log my life here. I guess I'll start with friendships. This doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes I can be impulsive, not really thinking before I act, and short-tempered. And as a result, I say things that are mean to others. Now, on the flip side, I have the habit of reflecting all the time, so I always look back and apologize for my actions. I don't like to leave things hanging or leaving on, like, being on the bad side of people, basically. So I always double back. But, you know, sometimes my impulses do get the better of me, and I hate that so much. But even in circumstances where something isn't my fault too, I still apologize. Oh, it's habit. I have a people pleaser type of personality, which is really dangerous as a content creator, especially because it is literally impossible to make everyone happy. But also, this clashes with self-hate a lot in this situation, because when I upset others, I immediately dip into a very fast downward spiral to extreme self-hate, and I cut off everyone around me all the time. I don't want to be associated with anyone out of shame and hate for myself. I also do want to quickly note, I've never been suicidal in my life. I know these kinds of thoughts can lead to that, but I don't know what it is about myself. Maybe it's because I have a strong will. I have a very strong will to improve as a person, that my mind never really thinks a moment in that direction, so I don't want to cause worry here or anything. I'm not like that. And I would be very open about it too, so don't worry. But what happens is that I just shut everyone and everything out. I don't talk about my issues to anyone because I don't want anyone to worry about me. And this is an interesting note in itself, actually, because I've only recently realized that I'm more open about my current feelings when I'm not doing well with my community through parasocial relationships. Sometimes I'll say I'm not doing good on my stream, and my partner Dom will walk out and he'll mention, well, this is the first time I've heard of it. I have such a hard time opening up to my close friend circle because I just don't want them to worry about me. I feel like I'm just not worth. I feel like I'm just not worth the worry. Worthiness and deserving are probably terms that I'll say a lot, by the way. I always feel like I have to go through all my battles alone to not bother people. And I'll talk to my friends again whenever I sort my brain out on my own. I'm a very independent person, so this has always worked out for me in my life, so I just never bothered to change it. Again, I find that I'm good at seeing the flip side, though. But the problem is the hypocrisy. My hypocrisy. I give this advice to my friends all the time, that it genuinely makes me so happy when a friend reaches out to me for help. So why do I struggle so much with flipping the situation? Why am I so unable to take my own advice? Heck, even my own feeling. Being there for my friends when they need me is one of the best feelings in the world. It's almost like a sense of accomplishment that I did something good. But yet, me knowing that exact feeling, my brain can't fathom the thought of my friends also being the same kind of happy that I get in the reverse situation. There's this huge wall that I wish I understood. I just don't understand it. And you know the worst part? Is that I'm consciously able to tell my brain all the time that you are worthy, that you don't need to bottle everything. It's okay to reach out for help. I can talk about my problems to others without being a bother. I say these things all the time, but these words I try to tell myself just go nowhere. It's literally like talking to a wall. No matter how much I spew this to my brain, it's like my subconscious has this impenetrable wall where there's just these words go nowhere, and they will get nowhere. I shouldn't say will get nowhere. That's not being positive. I know that this is changeable. It's able to be improved on. But for the current time, it's just frustrating. And this, in turn, causes even more self-hate. Because I don't have the strength to break this wall. And it's frustrating. Why am I not strong enough? Why am I not a better friend? Why isn't my content good enough? But the biggest one, and the root of the problem, I feel, is why can't I just accept my imperfections? After a lot of reflecting, and I'm 27 now, only figuring this out earlier this year, I hate having faults, and I hate not being a perfect person. It just sounds so ridiculous and so pathetic. There's no such thing as a perfect person. This people pleaser brain, this perfectionist brain, this self-hatred brain, it all goes together in the most awful ways. I won't get too into it because I said I wouldn't earlier, and it does make me cry, but it's an important note, I think. But a lot of my younger life growing up was always being put down for never being good enough. And looking back, I fully realize this now, and a lot makes sense to me now. I'm the youngest sibling of my brother and sister who were exceptional at most things that they did and do now. I always feel like I had to prove my worth. Not to them, because they're great siblings, and I love them very much, but to literally everybody else, especially my parents, everyone in my circle that knew all of us. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this situation, but you know when you have older siblings and you go through grade school and the teachers have been there for years and they taught all your older siblings and they look at your last name on the first day of school and say, "Oh, are you related to your brother and sister?" And I would always smile and say, "Yeah." And I was proud of it, honestly. Like yeah, that's my brother and sister and they're awesome and I love them a lot. I'm their younger sister. But what I didn't realize was happening in the background in my brain was the need to not disappoint the teacher, the people pleaser personality, the need to live up to expectations and work really hard to achieve them. I feel like in a way that kind of push and motivation can be healthy. So I don't actually see this scenario in a bad light in particular. In school, I'll just say in school. So I do want to clarify that this actually was good. I found this more in a good light than a negative one. It really pushed me to be a better student in a good way, more than, yeah, definitely in a good way. But I can't say the same about my dance life. When it came to my dance life, for the first 7 years, nothing I did was ever seemingly good enough. It was horrible. This is probably a video for another time, or maybe just a private talk with my therapist, more like. But the 7 years from whenever I started dancing at 3 years old to 10 years old are really what I find to be the root of most of my issues and problems. It was so bad that the sport and hobby that I loved doing so much caused me to quit dance for an entire year. I picked it back up at 11 years old again. And that change in setting and studio that I had at the time, I genuinely believe that it saved me from being in an even worse self-hatred spiral than I turned out to be today. I would be so much worse if I didn't get out. But it still stands that that 7 years did so much damage. And I want to be better. I want to be able to move past it. It's funny, because in this current moment, I'm literally hating myself for even just going on this mini past crystal tangent. I don't want people to worry about me. Or pity me sometimes. It's just not worth it. A part of me found it useful and relevant to shaping the current me, so I just wanted to briefly mention it. So, moving on. I find it funny. I often theorize nowadays of why I might be the way I am. I'm a loud person because well, not because, but I'm a very loud person. I'm a very flamboyant and very expressive person. And sometimes I think it's because I always have felt like I have something to prove to people my entire life. I need to stand out. I have to prove my worth. That might not actually be the case, but it just makes sense to me when I start connecting the dots of events in my life. It may be why, but guess I won't really know, just kind of makes sense. And oh boy, I have not even touched this whole anxiety portion of my life, but on the other hand, I feel like I don't need to say much about my anxiety because it very much makes sense with the traits that I've already mentioned and my problems. I feel anxiety at the weirdest times, so I don't know if I'll ever be able to track the root of those thoughts. But what I do know is that once I start meeting with my therapist to work on my other issues, I feel like that naturally connects to my anxiety and hopefully will help those physical issues that I get along with that. We'll see though. So, this has been long enough. So to future Crystal, I hope that you're doing great and that therapy was able to help you overcome and cope with some of these problems. I hope that you found time to relax and take a step back and enjoy life with a new outlook where you don't hate yourself in everything that you do. The brain just needs a doctor. Just as much as our physical body gets a checkup every year too. And if you're not improving, that's okay. Use this as a motivator to never stop. To use your own 2 legs. Keep moving forward no matter what. You got 2 perfectly good legs, get up and use them. For those of you that don't know, that quote from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is why I have worn this necklace every day for the past 11 years now, literally. It just helps keep me going. Always has and always will. This necklace got me through a lot. But before I end this log, please, if you've watched this whole thing, first off, thank you. I hope you don't see this video as a negative thing. If anything, me putting this out has me really pumped up in a strange way to keep improving. So I can look back on this in 5 years and see that I'm much better mentally, hopefully. I will get there. And I know I will. And everyone else watching this far can absolutely get there one day too. If you're struggling with literally anything, you'll get there. As long as you have the will to do it. It's just little baby steps, and it takes a lot of years, but if you have the will to change for the better and you want to, anyone can. And everyone can. Thank you for watching. It genuinely means the world to watch my little log. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you, friends.